This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, everyone. This is your hostess, Lucy Rosa-Stagi, and we are here again on a Thursday for another awesome interview. So before we start this interview with my special guest today, a few housekeeping tips. Above, you will see StreamYard, a banner. Click on that, and that will allow StreamYard to use your name. Otherwise, you'll come across as Facebook user. That would give the permission to use your name. The other thing, especially if you want to comment and react to what's happening. And then the other thing, tell us where you're from. It's always good to know where people are coming in from. As you know, I'm coming in from Mexico, and my guest today is in Boston, Massachusetts. Now, I usually go on and tell you what we have in common. We have a few things in common, my guest and I. We both follow Tony Robbins, for one thing. We're both members of the Self-Education Revolution group. We're both students of the Project Next. And you know that Project Next is the blueprint. It's the roadmap. It's a way for us to impact other people's lives with our story. We all have a story. And Andy Gupta, my guest today, has a wonderful story. So welcome, please, Andy Gupta.
Lucy, thank you. It's a real honor to be here with you. I've watched you, I've heard so much about you, and thank you for having me here talk to your amazing audience.
Thank you, Andy. You know, I'm reminded what Tony Robbins says when I think about you, that people overestimate what they can do in a year and really underestimate what they can do in 10 years. Now, I know that saying came from Bill Gates. And
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and so, but it kind of sounds like a discouraging comment in a way. So, Andy, I want to ask you this question. If someone had told you back then, like 20 years ago, let's say, that you'd be sharing the stage with Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi in 20 years, and that you would be featured as one of their rock stars, how would you have reacted to that?
Oh, complete disbelief, Lucy, because especially given where I was in life 20 years ago, we'll get into that. It would have been absolute disbelief.
Oh my God. You know, and you have a similar background like Tony and Dean. He loves people. You know, you came from poor families. You worked hard hours. You lived in your sister's garage. Dean's story is about living in his father's bathroom, and Tony's story is about living in his VW. Now, can you take us back to your humble beginnings a little bit and let us know the way you grew up? Because I know that not only did your home life affect you a lot, but the status of women in general in India and even now today in America affected you, and it still affects you, and it has to do a lot with the work that you do. So can you do that for us? Take us back to those beginnings a little bit.
Sure, Lucy. I'm happy to, and of course, it's we serve when we can share some of our deepest vulnerabilities.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up in Mumbai, and not the fancy part of Mumbai. And I want to take you back to a night when I was 5 years old and I was crouched in the corner of our small apartment. And I could hear my parents fighting really loudly. And I was really scared for both of them, but particularly for my mom. I've got an older sister, and the constant fear that I had, especially that night, is something might happen to my mom. Mm-hmm. And my sister and I will get kicked out on the streets of Mumbai. And how are we going to fend for ourselves? It's pretty scary. I respect my father a lot. I'm sure he's got a perspective. So I'm not dinging him. But from my perspective, the child, I cared for my mom a lot, and I was worried. And she had a college degree, but she was so dependent. She was not allowed to work. She was dependent on my father, and it was an unhappy relationship. And she couldn't get out of it because she cared for my sister and me. She didn't know how she would care for us. their fights were so frequent and so scary that this fear I would be on the streets was reinforced almost every other day, to the point where even as a grown-up, I still have that fear within me. After grade 10, I had to leave home because I couldn't deal with that environment. But we didn't have any money. So I won a scholarship from the government of Singapore to come study high school there. After that, I got a scholarship and a financial aid from Lafayette College in the United States. I came here, but as part of the financial aid, I had to work 20 hours a week. So I worked 5 jobs in college to be able to stay in school. But my goal was to get to Wall Street because for me, I had zero safety net. And I looked up which is the job which will pay me the most, because that would be my ticket to creating my version of financial freedom. And so Wall Street. While I was at a good college, it was not an Ivy League school, and investment banks typically recruited at Ivy League schools. So I went through and said, which is the number one investment bank? Goldman Sachs. And within that, what is the number one group to join? It's the mergers and acquisitions group. And by that time, I was calling investment banks. Nobody would take my call because I was not at a target school. I won a summer internship from Merrill Lynch. My boss's boss is still my mentor there. After all these years, he gave me an offer, but I was so fixated on going to Goldman Sachs for one reason or the other, because it was this impossible task. I showed up to Goldman Sachs. They were like, we don't come to your school. I said, I'm taking the first bus. I'll show up there. After 20 interviews, not only did I get a job at Goldman Sachs, I got a job in the M&A group, the one and that started a career of 20 years. But fast forward, 2 years later, I finished up my program. I really want to go to Harvard Business School. That was my dream as a teenager. I didn't get in. I didn't get in, and I was devastated. And I didn't apply to any of the jobs because I would have had to accept the job before Harvard came back to me, and I couldn't do that out of integrity. So now I had no job, no Harvard Business School, and I took the first job I got, ended up in Washington, D.C. I was feeling so low. I bought a sports car, one of those mistakes that I talk about at length in my course. As a 24-year-old, I got a really swanky 3-bedroom apartment. What was I doing with a 3-bedroom apartment? It was just me. Well, this came back to bite me because my boss yelled at me every single day. And after a month, I couldn't put up with it. And my options were, I can leave this job, become a quitter, say goodbye to my dream of Harvard Business School, or I put up with this. I decided to quit. I was not a citizen. That meant I had to leave the country.
Wow.
I pulled every single cent out of my 401k to pay off that 2-year lease on the apartment, sell my car at a loss, and buy myself a plane ticket to Australia where my sister is. And for this next 6 months, after Goldman Sachs, the pinnacle of Wall Street, I lived in my sister's garage. She made it very cozy, but it was my sister's garage. While I reinvented myself, and I got a Wall Street job in Australia. And 3 years later, I came back to Harvard Business School.
My God, what a story. Oh my God. You know, people saw that you had a lot of potential. Obviously, Tony and Dean saw that too, because you ended up on the stage with them. And
Yes.
so let me ask you, at what point did you come together with Tony and Dean and the Project Next program? I mean, that story is unbelievable. Your story is.
I really appreciate that. So about a year ago, I came into the advertisement for Self-Education Revolution. Now, I've heard Tony several times before. I came into Self-Education Revolution. Tony was doing this 5-day program, and he introduced Dean to us for the first time. And I was very taken by Dean's personality and what he had to offer. This course was about Self-Education Revolution. I had no idea what it was about. It was about the knowledge industry. I had no idea what that even meant. But then there was an invitation to join Project Next. Apparently, you could create a course and teach people, empower people. So, Lucy, can we pause for a second? I'm hearing background noise. Can we pause?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you edit this? I'm going to just have my child quieten down a little bit.
You know, I love these lives.
This meeting is being recorded.
I love lives because it shows us how life happens. You know, it
Yeah.
happens to us. So I'm not going to edit this. I love this because you're a
Right.
dad, aren't you? You're a
I am.
dad.
I've got
Married,
two little daughters,
2 little daughters. How old are your daughters? Let's talk
5
about
and
that.
7.
5 and 7. So they're a big influence on your life and what you're doing, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And love to talk to you about that.
Mm-hmm.
Dean and Tony, so I came to that program, and there's something about you can create your own course, you can empower people. And given the way I grew up, Lucy, it took me 22 years on Wall Street, working 80 to 100-hour weeks. It takes a toll. Going through Harvard Business School, through 3 recessions, learning what I know now, creating my version of financial freedom. And I've always felt, how can I share my skill set? How can I share it with someone? How can I teach the person out there, a working single mom, or this rock star woman who's a rock star in every respect, but has got her wealth in cash, or is given it to a financial advisor, but doesn't know what questions to ask? It's got nothing to do with how accomplished or how smart you are. We just never taught how to do this. Like, how can I share my skill set? And I've never known how to do it.
Yeah.
And then I came across, sorry, go ahead. Were you saying something?
No, I was just thinking you came across your niece at this point, no?
Not
No.
yet, not quite yet. So came across Dean and Tony,
Okay.
and I enrolled in Project Next. And I started going through the program of, wow, I can actually create a course and teach it to people. And at that point, about a year ago this time, my niece, who's a senior in college, was visiting.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, hey, do you invest? She's like, yeah, I get some summer earnings, and I put in a robo-advisor. So a robo-advisor is basically a computer investing for you.
Wow,
So,
that's new, and that's, I've never heard of that. That's
yeah, it's a new thing, and so it's a computer that invests for you.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, that's what I am doing. And I said, hey, I'm thinking about creating a course. I've invested for 20 plus years. Promise I'll simplify it for you. Can you sit down with me for a few hours? Sure. In 3 hours, Lucy, 3 hours. She's not a finance major. She's not a math major. In 3 hours, she created an incredible investment portfolio that was custom for her. And she created it. I didn't do it for her. I just gave her the tools. I just taught her. And if I've been doing this for 20 years, I should be able to simplify it. Her portfolio was so interesting that it inspired me to change something in my portfolio. Can you believe that?
Wow. But you know, she's 21 years old. I mean, what's somebody like me going to do at 77 years old?
Oh, here is the beauty, Lucy. Here's the beauty. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your age is. Investing doesn't mean, quite often, we think investing means taking big risks. Right? Investing in that hot stock, which, how scary is it that a company like Snap, right, which the millennials love, is down 30% just today.
Wow.
In one day. No way to guess it. Take a big company like Netflix. Netflix is down 65% this year. So when if you say I'm 70 years old, Andy, I don't have that kind of risk tolerance to lose my retirement. Betting on a stock, a household name like Netflix, how was I supposed to know it's going to go down 65%? That would be the end of my retirement.
Exactly.
And here's what I love to teach people. Investing is not about taking blind risk.
Okay.
Why don't you learn? And you can. Investing can be fun, accessible, and empowering. What you do is you learn how to shift the dials so you can build a portfolio that is custom to your risk, to your goals. What do I mean by that? So if you're 70 and say you want to, go ahead.
No, I'm thinking, well, I have a financial advisor. Why would I want to do that? I mean, you know, I when I don't know what to do, I find the who, you know.
Sure.
So
Okay.
why
That's
would I
perfectly
go?
fine.
Why would I go this way instead of I know that my financial advisor takes at least 1%. And I don't really understand all of that either,
So
but
Lucy, let me give you an analogy.
okay.
I know nothing about cars. All right. I am a complete idiot when it comes to cars.
Okay.
I will never want to fix even a tire. I would get it wrong. So I go to a car mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I can get swindled by a car mechanic. I get it. That can happen. But it's a car. It's okay. It's a car.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to your wealth, financial advisors, great. You should hire a financial advisor, right? I can't say you should or should not. A financial advisor is meant to serve you, meant to help you,
Correct. Mm-hmm.
but it's your wealth. No one is going to pay as much attention to your wealth as
Right.
you. And I'm not saying that a financial advisor will do a bad job. What I'm saying is this is different. This is your wealth. No one's going to pay more attention, more time than you. And instead of blindly trusting a financial advisor, instead of a one-way conversation,
Mm-hmm.
instead of not knowing what to ask, how do you even know if this person's doing a good job or not? Just because they're a financial advisor doesn't mean that they all are of the same caliber.
No, I just know by my returns whether they're there or not, the results, and when
So
they're not, I kind of get on the telephone and say, what's happening? What are you
Right.
doing?
And
Yeah.
then they might use terms and jargon, and I don't know what to ask after that. So the point I'm trying to make is you want to empower yourself
Mm-hmm.
to keep the financial advisor accountable, to
Okay.
partner with them, to have a two-way conversation, to be able to assess, are they doing a good job? And if they're not doing a good job, let me replace them and get a better financial advisor. That power should be yours.
I totally agree. I mean, really, I should be, yeah. But so you teach people how to take power of their financial situation? Is that
I do.
what?
So what I say is I'm not a financial advisor and I cannot give you financial advice. But what I want to do is I want to teach you. To use the standard cliche, I want to teach you how to fish.
Okay.
It doesn't matter whether you're 21 or whether you're 75. All you need is a desire to learn
Okay.
and be able to do simple math, whether it's through a calculator or not. 5 divided by 100, I can do that. 5%.
You can do that. Yeah.
Can I look at a simple chart? I can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two ingredients I would need. And then I can coach you. I can teach you how to go from, Andy, I don't even know where to begin, to designing what I call your first shitty draft. And we call it first shitty draft for a reason.
Yeah.
So that you can build that first portfolio without any pressure and with ease. And you stay with me in my program and you build a second version and I coach you. Third version, you build 7 versions, coaching from me, but you are building it. I'm not giving you financial advice. You are using sovereignty and figuring out what is right for you based on the tools I'm teaching you. And you build 7 versions in 10 weeks, iterating every week, learning from me, learning from your peers, and you will choose to invest that portfolio on graduation.
That's very interesting because that's what my team and I do. We in our launch lab mastermind, we help people launch their course. They first start with a beta and then
Sure.
with a friend, and that's exactly what. So I understand that. Oh, that is cool. Okay.
And that's empowering, Luke. You've seen that firsthand. It's about taking the baby steps. It's taking the next
Right.
step, not looking at the staircase. And you celebrate each step. You celebrate each win.
Right, each win. Yes,
And
absolutely.
that builds that self-confidence and that empowerment.
So so your niche, it appears that your niche are mostly women.
Yes.
And are they a special age? You say it doesn't matter if you're 21 or 75. So it's just women in general?
Look, my goal is to empower women. Given my story, given how I watched my mom, given I have 2 daughters,
Mm-hmm.
given what I'm seeing in the world today with the wage gap, my goal is every woman is a rock star in her own way. And if I can help empower you in this one aspect of your rock star life, where I can guide you as a peer, as a friend, just because I happen to have done this a little longer than you, but can I come as a friend and show you some of my skill set, teach you, empower you, so that you can take control of your financial future and feel empowered that no one ever is going to tell you how you live your life. You choose to live the life you want on your terms. And that's what's meaningful for me.
I just love the way that you took your expertise, your investment, knowing what to do on Wall Street, and now you're coaching and actually impacting other people's lives. We are like-minded people for sure. And you're right about investing for us. Those of us, we're afraid. It's scary.
It is
Sometimes
scary. Money is emotional.
It's very
Money is
emotional.
emotional. And that is one of the biggest reasons why people make money or lose money, because it's being human. When no one has taught us how to use systematic frameworks, how the inner villain gets in the way.
Yes.
If we're not aware of it, then we have no framework to go, and we're sort of just going along, and then we make haphazard investing decisions, and then we get burned. We get lucky a few times, and we get burned, and then we're like, this is too stressful, I'm not going to do it.
I know. Oh my God. So we've all been through this whole journey where, we've had to fail, we've had to fall down, we've had to pick ourselves up again. And it just sounds like you went through all that. And so you're in a place right now where you saw that sparkle in your niece's eye. And that was the pivotal moment for you, so to speak.
That was it for me.
Yeah.
That's that emotion is indescribable, Lucy. You've made an impact on several people. You know what I'm talking about. That emotion is indescribable. I can just imagine, I can just picture that, and I can yes, this is what I want to create for someone else.
Right. It's not about the money so much as the impact on people's lives, really.
It's the impact on people's lives, which is why I walked away from a Wall Street career. And if it was money, I wouldn't have done that. It's about people are hurting, women particularly, and COVID happened, Lucy. So this wage gap always upset me, but COVID happened. I saw in my own family, as willing a father as I am, a willing a husband as I am to help my wife. And it's not just her responsibility. I don't want this to come across as this is her responsibility, I'm helping her. No, I want to be an equal partner. But my daughters want their mom at bedtime. No matter how much I want to put them to bed, they want their mom. And in COVID, I saw how challenging it is for my wife as a doctor to have a full-time job and then come home and the kids want her, even though I'm there. It's just too stressful. And it took more women out of the workforce.
Yes.
And it's widened that wage gap even more. And that's what was so bothersome to me. And I was like, this is the time I want to figure out how I can try and empower women.
So insofar as Tony and Dean, first of all, you were the very first male that they featured on the World Summit 2022. Yeah. Wow. And you were one of four, and you were the you were the only male.
It was a hard act. Dean asked me, Annie, how are you going to follow these three women? It was a hard act. I told Dean, after these superstar three women, why did you have to put me after these three superstars? That's a very hard act to follow.
Right. Yeah, I know. But Dean kept saying, I've heard him say for years now, 3-4 years, where are the men? Where are the men? Come on, men, step up to the plate. So you're one who did, So kudos to you for sure, Andy. And the fact that you're out there because you understand, because not only that, but you were I mean, you lived it through your life in India. You came, and it was difficult for you to get into the schools, and you were not accepted, and then you had an abusive boss, and I mean, you went through it all. So even you felt the difficulty of living and trying to be having that time and money freedom.
Oh,
So
absolutely, very much so, very much so.
so you can identify with certainly with women and what they're going through. So let me tell you, let me ask you this question: if there was anybody in my audience who wanted to touch base with you, wanted to get some more information from you, how would they go about doing that?
Oh, they should just email me. I am here. I want to serve every person that I can. And my
Okay.
email is, we'll put it in the, I'll share it with you. But please
It'll be
email me. My
down
email
below.
is andy@anyonecaninvestnow.com. That now is important. I've got a competitor who's got a very similar name. So it's andy@anyonecaninvestnow.com. Please email me. I'd love to get in touch with you. I'd love to learn more about you and see how I can be helpful.
Wonderful. So your courses, I know that you give courses, and I know that when you first started, you gave free courses. Now your courses, obviously you were featured with Tony and Dean because, you've made it, so to speak.
Oh, I don't know
So,
about that, Lucy. You're being too kind. I'm
well,
very much at the start.
well, also I want to say that, I think you just reached a milestone, right? With your 101 first student. I mean, so
Yes.
you have taught 101 students at this point.
Yes. In the
Have they
last,
all been women?
most of them are women. Yes.
Yeah. And would you say they're successful today?
Absolutely. They are.
Absolutely.
And there are so many inspiring stories, and I don't get to feature all of these, but on my website, there are several stories and letters and videos from women talking about that empowerment. The outcome is empowerment.
Mhm.
So I would encourage you to go check out my website, which is in the notes. It's www.anyonecaninvestnow.com. And I hope you feel inspired. You feel the emotions and energy shared by several of the women.
And I just want to tell my audience that it will be in the tickler down below. And so we'll have all that information if you didn't get it. But I love how easy it is. Anyone can invest now. How cool is
Absolutely. And
that?
it's true to form, right? It truly is that, as I said, if you've got the desire to learn, if you've got a desire to make a difference, and if you can do the basic math, like I said, I have the confidence in you, and I have the confidence in myself that I can take you from where you are today to your lighthouse. But you got to come along with me, because I'm going to be there right alongside you.
That's wonderful. So actually, this makes your next decade very exciting, doesn't it? I mean,
I hope so. It's all about how can I continue to reach women? How can I continue to inspire? How can I continue to empower that one woman who trusts that I can be that coach, that friend? I really like to use the word friend. I'm a peer. I'm not a coach, I'm a peer. And it's all about taking that one step, empowering that one person. It's not about 10 or 20. It's about that one person. Can I help you? And Lucy, that's why just yesterday, we're in week 4 with 30 amazing people. Most of them are women. There's 26 women out of a group of 30. And we just went through building the second version of the portfolio.
wow.
We shared something I shared a pretty inspiring story from one of my late professors at Harvard. And it moved this woman to tears. And I caught up with her later, and I wanted to hear what moved her. She's like, I can create that empowerment for myself. I'm 45, and I've felt so insecure in this part of my life.
And women do.
Right? That I know that there was this was this pivotal moment for her, yesterday's
Right.
class, that I can do this.
Yeah.
And that's what choked her up. And that emotion, when she shared that with me, Lucy, that emotion, that joy, I'm choking up right now.
I know. Brings tears to your eyes. Yeah, absolutely.
That emotion doesn't compare to closing $1 billion deal on Wall Street. That's a different accomplishment. That's a whole different celebration. But this emotion of making a real difference, that someone else's life has gotten so empowered and changed for the rest of her life going forward, that I was able to play a small part in that as a friend, I think is what life is all about.
That absolutely. I'm going to ask you one more favor. My team and I work with Project Next students mostly. And some of them are doing well and some of them are struggling.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to that one person who's invested in Project Next because they want a better life, because they have a vision, but they can't seem to move forward? Do you have because once they move forward, then the world's out there for them, and now you're going to take care of their financial situation. So what advice do you have for that person who has invested but can't seem to move forward?
I've been there. The inner villain shows up,
Yeah.
even the inner villain shows up for me every day.
Yeah.
Will I find that person to empower? So that inner villain doesn't leave. But the point is, can you pay attention to that emotion, which is saying, this is so hard. Will I be successful? And quite often the self-limiting talk, as Tony says, where energy goes, where focus goes, energy flows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we got to watch that language we're saying to ourselves and catch ourselves, as hard as it might be, to reframe it. Think about someone else who inspires us and say, there is no way that I am not doing this. What can I change? What can I iterate? What's not working? Let me take that next step forward. Let me build a support system where I can feel I am helping someone's helping me. And quite often, when we shift our focus from ourselves to serving someone else,
right,
we go from feeling afraid and fearful and not enough or an imposter to now you're focusing on someone else and give content away for free.
Yeah.
Because you will empower someone else, and in empowering them, you will feel I can actually do this the way I did it with my niece, the way I did it with 20 other people. But at some point, start charging because people don't value free stuff.
Exactly. He who pays attention. We've heard it over and over.
Absolutely. But initially, but also as we've learned through your content, through your newsletter, through your podcast, whatever it is, give away most of your value for free, empower people, and draw in that person who is your ideal customer. Mm-hmm. But by shifting the focus on someone else. Do I have time for a very quick story to hone this in?
Absolutely, we do. Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about a story from my daughter's science project in class. Mm-hmm. Finally, after 3 years, parents were allowed to come back into the classroom. Mm-hmm. And it was parents' night, and my daughter said, Daddy, don't miss the butterflies. They are in this net. Don't miss those butterflies. So I went in, I looked at the butterflies. And when I got home, she said, what did you see? I said, well, there were 5 cocoons and there was 1 caterpillar. He had not turned into a cocoon yet. She said, don't worry, Daddy, he will. Oh. And that was so empowering, powerful for my daughter to recognize he's not behind. Cultural progress. He's not behind. He will turn into a cocoon. And I said, that's right. He just needs his time. A few weeks later, just 2 days ago, I asked my daughter, hey, have they turned into butterflies yet? And she said, most of them have. 3 are still in the cocoon and we release the other butterflies. And I said, they'll turn into butterflies soon. They just need their time. And
Oh, wow.
that was so empowering for me because quite often as adults, what do? We give up on our dreams.
We do.
Right when a solution could be around the corner. That around the
Right.
corner could be next week, could be tomorrow, could be next month, could be next year. All we can do is have the faith in ourselves, have the faith in God, take the right next step, and iterate. If we're doing something wrong, right? As Dean says, if we are running west to see the sun, no matter how hard we try, we're not going to see the sun.
Right, exactly. Unbelievable. It's trusting the process, you know. So
That's
thank you very much for that story is a beautiful story. Thank you. I have goosebumps just listening to that story. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So again, I just want to ask you again, the quickest way for anybody in my audience who wants to touch base with you would be through a message, right? And
send me an email. That's the best way to get in touch. We'll schedule a brief Zoom call. I'd love to be able to hear your story, be able to help you. Of course, you can check out my website, but I've got a number of courses across price points. So don't let that stop you. I want to talk to you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so very much for your time. I'm so appreciative. Congratulations for being on that stage with Tony and Dean. I was so proud of you, actually. It was really the first male that they featured. Woohoo! So thank you, Andy. And we'll keep in touch.
I would love that. Thank you so much, Lucy. Really grateful to be on your show and to be able to serve your audience. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And to my audience, we will see you next week for another awesome interview. Bye for now.
The recording has stopped. This meeting is being recorded.
Lucy, you're